Hello there. Welcome back to our hard Haas challenge, and we're going to continue where we left off. Last time around, we had Magnussen do his Canadian, well, Canadian shenanigans, I guess. And in terms of the car, it didn't take much powertrain damage, but he did destroy some of the aerodynamic parts, the chassis, the front wing, and we also have a front wing missing and a sideboard missing for our other man, Hulkenberg's car. So we're going to have to manufacture new pieces before Austria. Luckily, we have 11 days to do so. So we do have at least a little bit of leeway. So I think what we're going to do is just have to wait for the suspension. Then we're going to have to make a couple of front wings. Let's just try and see what we can replace right now. And we're actually lacking side pods for Hulkenberg. For Magnussen, we need a new chassis. And of course a new front wing. So we have a little bit of lack of parts. Of course, once we have very bad manufacturing to begin with a couple of crashes that only intensifies in terms of well, lacking parts. It was very unfortunate we couldn't take advantage of Magnussen's crash, but honestly, the fact that he took out the Red Bulls rather than say the Astons was probably why. Our car is not good enough to really fight the Red Bulls anyways. So, well, we could have had a chance for a win. We're just a little bit lacking there, unfortunately, which is what it is. We'll just have to deal with that. If you have enjoyed the series so far, please like and subscribe. Sorry about this, but it does help out. Thank you in advance. So with that, let's just get right back into it. The helipad upgrade has been completed. It is now maximum level. Race sim upgrade has also been completed, and I think we are immediately continuing that upgrade, so no real concern. But what we need to do now is actually just get ready for the next race and get the, in this case, I believe it's just front wing manufacturing, because we are, I believe, no, we need to do a side pod too. So we need to do a side pod and a front wing. Well, in reality, more than one front wing before the next race weekend. So what I'm thinking here is that we do probably rush a couple of front wings with the underfloor done, and then we do just a side pod with when the suspension finishes. I think that is our best bet in terms of getting things prepped for the next GP. And as I see, it's going to take us 12 days to get that done. So we might need to just rush this as well. That is a headache. But in terms of performance, we are probably going to need to rush this one if we want to have it ready, and we kind of do. We still have plenty of cost cap remaining, so I'm not really too concerned if we rush a project or two. But it's still not great, so we'll just have to deal with that. We also, of course, want to have some extra front wings in particular in stock, because they do tend to blow up a lot. So we are in a bit of a troublesome situation. Now, research done on the rear wing gives us a small boost in everything. No CFD or wind tunnel time used on this one. And it takes 2 days until we get to next CFD wind tunnel period. But I'm a little bit unsure what we want to use it on, because I am confused again about where we were at. So I'm just going to check. We have not done any suspension. Underfloor needs a little boost. Rear wing. Looks like we haven't used any CFD so far on any of these parts. And we are going to hit with a cornering regulation, which is going to make us suffer quite a bit next year. So I'm thinking that we are going to have to do suspension, underfloor, rear wing, front wing for our CFD periods. And we have the one that comes now in July, basically. ATR period 4. Then we have another one, I believe. Right here, period 5. And then we have another one over here, period 6. So, we are currently using one of the periods for something. I can say that with certainty. I just can't remember if I put it into underfloor, front wing, or suspension. But we'll see once the research is done, and maybe I'll have to make myself a little bit of note of where we're at. So, Wouldn't worry about that. We could go ahead here and just go all in. But I think what we can do is just do a regular research on the rear wing. We, of course, want to do some research on side pods and chassis too. But right now, I think it's more important for us to get the rear wing up and running and also get a little bit of cornering ability on it, so to speak. We are going to be sacrificing the dirty air tolerance, but you can see here, next year it's going to be really bad. So, it's a bit of a weird one on what we want to do here. This is just going to give us very, very small stat boost next year. The top KPH is going to be nice, but I'm a little bit unsure how, what would be the best way to deal with that right now. So, we have a few things on our minds, if you will, that we need to deal with. So manufacturing has been completed of underfloor and side pods, and as I said, we do need front wings. And what we are going to need to do here is probably just rush it. Rush 2 of them. And the reason for this is incredibly simple. Front wings break a lot, and our front wing has a pretty decent boost all around. So we are going to go ahead and rush 2 of them. And this, again, does put us in a not-so-good spot. Let's see here. Side pods. We have 2 side pods, basically. 2 rear wings. I think we get a rear wing made here, just to be on the safe side. And I'm tempted to rush this one as well, honestly. Rush 2 rear wings, just get us caught up on the parts. Would be nice. Just going to double check it if we are actually working on the facility. We'd be working on the facility 53 days. So I can't just wait for the facility to be done. So we're going to do what we were doing with the front wing. We're going to rush 2 rear wings as well, just to be on the safe side. That should give us a little bit of cover. And once this chassis is done, I think we're just going to have to actually make another chassis. That's the thing. So, well, a little bit rough, because of the sponsor goals that basically take up a very large amount of our development, or sorry, our manufacturing. We do end up in a bit of a tight spot here where it takes 17 days, for instance, to make a chassis. So we'll have that done a week before Budapest. And that is very, very troublesome, as you might expect. So we'll go ahead and make another chassis, just make it normally. But I'm definitely looking forward to getting that full slot. It should alleviate some of the pressure. Now we have, I believe, both race engineers here. Contracts ending. I think we'll probably just refresh those. Chassis has been manufactured. Rest of this contract is ending too. We'll have to see if we renew him. I think that's probably what we're going to do, or if we're going to replace him. But I think renewal is going to be the key. And for Fittipaldi here, we could pick up a different talent. But right now, it's not something we need to stress with. So I'm not going to be too stressed with these contracts. We'll deal with them when we can. And with this, we should have now, for the most part, mostly enough parts to replace what has been damaged. So, still lacking that front wing, but should get that done in time. And the tool center has reached level 4. So, do we want to upgrade it right away? I think so. It's just 50k. Is the upgrade cost worth it? Probably not. So what we're going to do instead of upgrading it right now is just going to wait until it loses like 1 or 2 squares, and then instead of refurbishing it, we'll just upgrade it instead. That is how we're going to play that card. Okay. Now, Austria is also a sprint, which means that we have extra chances of wrecking the car. And with the lack of front wings, that's going to be kind of rough, because if we end up crashing, we're going to have to emergency manufacture. So hopefully we can play it safe. Pass the slap, do we want to go for that? I don't think we're going to go for that, honestly. Q3. I think we can try and get both drivers in. And we're going to gamble for that money instead. Both drivers are decent in qualifying. So let's go for that. It is sprint weekend. It's going to be a very rainy Saturday too. So that's going to make things a little bit interesting here. But for now, let's jump into the Austrian Grand Prix and hope that we can have an incident-free weekend. quali has reached its conclusion, and of course Magnussen has picked up a penalty in practice because qualifying, well, it's not enough. But yeah, we qualified 5th and 7th, which is fairly decent, I dare say. I dare say we are on the good path there. But yeah, the penalty that he's picked up in the first practice session, because we only had one practice session so far, is actually kind of amazing to me. And it is just a testament to kind of a little bit of bad luck that we are having. But it shouldn't really be an issue. And as you can see, the rain seems to be in practice for the most part, which means we probably will not be seeing any rain during the sprint, unless the sprint, say, starts on inters like this practice does. So for now, let's just sim through. And there's nothing much we can do for practice other than, well, just getting through it quick. Magnussen with 34% does scare me, because I could tend to hint that he has crashed when he has that little track knowledge compared to Hulkenberg. So it's just gonna get kind of interesting, I think. Apparently I did not replace that, but I am a little bit unsure what the best strategy is gonna be here, because as we saw, Magnus is taking the penalty, but I'm wondering if that doesn't actually apply until the race itself. That is kind of what the hint is telling me here, since we didn't get any, oh, you're starting further back. That could actually mean that the penalty doesn't apply for the sprint, and that is good, because that makes it more likely for us to score points in the sprint. And that's actually then not horrible for us. So the sprint race itself should be sunny for the entire time. We can go full attack it on the hards. We can do no such thing on the mediums, aggressive at best. So basically the hard set is going to be your best bet if you're going to go super aggressive. Now Hulkenberg doesn't have hards, and Magnussen will still have a hard for Saturday, having a bunch of mediums too, so we could go medium, hard, medium, for instance. And for Hulkenberg here too, even if you use a medium, he shall still have 2 more, so you can do the same strategy. So we're going to run him on the medium. We're going to go full attack. We're going to have to tune him down to standard at one point for probably 3, 4, 5 laps. Then we can go aggressive till the end. And I think that's going to have to be the play that we do with him. For Magnussen here, he's going to have a chance of scoring higher up the grid because of the fact that, well, he's on a hard tire. He can go more, well, he can go full attack till the end. And we'll have to see how bad the degradation is here, because sometimes it can be, you know, a little bit bad, but usually it is fairly good, so I wouldn't be too worried. So with that in mind, let's just jump straight into the sprint. Let's see if we can have a decent start here. Do want to go rally defend on both of them, hopefully before that first corner. Because it's Austria, there's usually a lot of mayhem in through that first corner. Looks like the game lagged for a second, so it wouldn't surprise me if there was a problem. But Hulkenberg here, fighting Hamilton. Stroll, hopefully he moves over to block Hamilton more than he blocks us. Okay, that's... I didn't realize we were allowed to go through other cars, but apparently the Aston, the Mercedes, they're allowed to do that. That was a bit silly, I will admit. Magnus is up to 4th though, which is good. Gives him a chance to fight a little bit. Yeah, but the ghosting there, that's the best way I can describe it. I don't know what to say to that, because that was kind of wild. But Hulkenberg is fighting his way back up. He's up into 8th, and hopefully he can actually get by Stroll too. And but yeah, that was a little bit more than anticipated. Now we are gonna have to tune down Hulkenberg, unfortunately, because again we need these tires to last till the end. They will not if we go full attack. Hopefully he can still stay with Stroll, stay with Sainz, depending on, you know, how this DRS train develops. But right now he is falling behind. So I think we tune him up to... Nah, we keep him standard. We're going to have to. We are going to have to, which is going to suck. Magnussen is still keeping up, but not really getting any chances to fight. But he should be getting better and better opportunities the further into the sprint we get. He actually gets a little bit of a DRS overtake there on Leclerc. Leclerc gets it back though. And as you can see, Hulkenberg is falling backwards, but there's nothing really we can do with that at this stage. We can't really push the tires any more than we have. So we are going to save for probably 2-3 more laps. And then we'll go aggressive, and hopefully that'll be enough that we can close some of these gaps. That is going to be the play here, I think. So let's see how that plays out once we get closer to the end of the sprint. Magnus has had a bit of a moment here, apparently. So let's see what happened. That is Magnussen and Leclerc. Guess he got pushed off and then a bit of a touch. And Magnussen loses out tremendously here. He's now fighting
Charge off. Yep.
Fighting Stroll and Alonso. So yeah, that is not a that's not a good thing for us. Let's put it like that. And we actually got DRS overtook while we had DRS. So Magnussen now has been put in a bit of a rough situation. That is the best way I can describe it. And I think what we're going to do is just harvest. We did lose a little bit of tire, which puts us into a bit of a compromise situation towards the end of this race. So we're going to run aggressive for a lap or two, just to be on the safe side. Hulkenberg still kind of in a bit of a struggle, but he is now in the point where we can run aggressive. And what the goal here now is going to be to just aggressively push past Hamilton. Hopefully not in this DRS zone, or this one for that matter, but the next one. And if we can stay ahead at the end of this one, we are going to go ahead and deploy basically. So we'll see if we can do that at the end of this one, because I think Hamilton is going to come back at us. And for Magnussen now, we can go back up to attack. We're going to do what we plan to do here now is deploy. That should give Magnussen a little bit of a oomph there. And we're going to do the same here for Hulkenberg. Give him the full deploy. Doesn't seem like it was enough, honestly. And for Magnussen, if he can create the gap now to the cars behind, the two Astons, and then chase down the Ferraris again, we are going to be very, very happy. For Hulkenberg, he does keep on with the overtaking into the final DRS zone, which isn't great, let's put it that way. So we'll have to see now if he can actually create the gap to Hamilton and catch up to the Astons again. But I think that's going to be a little bit of a wishful thing right now, unfortunately. So what we could do here, because of the fact that we aren't getting away, is probably that we are just going to have to, face reality here. We're going to be fighting Hamilton for 8th. I think that's the best bet. Magnus is now pulling the two Astons with him because of the issue, which has also put him in a bit of a, difficult situation now. And I think Alonso might be going full attack at this moment because he's going really, really rapid. So we have a few things that we need to worry about, particularly the fact that they just got away from Magnussen. That is amazing. But yeah, we'll try and handle this the best way we can. Hopefully, I can catch back up. It's not been a good day for Magnussen, and his confidence is still low, which of course is influencing his current very, very low pace. So it sucks. Nothing much we can do about it. We're currently on the fastest, the last lap here. And as you can see, Magnussen had another moment there, just for fun. So he's currently out of the sprint points, and he was fighting for potentially a podium. So the confidence he took was really bad. Passing on the outside of that corner is definitely a cursed thing to do. So it sucks. We only end up with 1 point. It has been a fairly cursed Haas affair so far, because we are usually in good positions, and then Magnussen decides to be overconfident. It feels like, but honestly, it's probably just the control lowering. And it is frustrating more than anything else, because it doesn't matter if you do everything right. This man will not tolerate that. So he starts 14th now. Let's face it, if he finished 3rd, he'd be starting 8th. So that is sad. But I think what the player is going to be is go for a fairly aggressive strategy here, depending on how you want to look at it, with something like this, and then just a normal medium stint towards the end. think that's going to be the play. Of course, because we're starting really far back, we could also go with a very aggressive stint, like this. And that too could be successful, but this is going to require 4 stops if you want to do this. And it is viable, don't get me wrong, but it is also slightly risky. It's about as quick as this. I think this is what we're going to do for Magnussen, though. For Hulkenberg, who starts a little bit higher up, we are going to run him on the little risky strategy, like this one. It should still be quick enough, don't get me wrong, so that's what we're going to do for him. But I'm looking forward to seeing if we can get Magnussen back up into the points with this strategy, or if he's just going to completely destroy everything around him, which would be horrifying. So let us go with this. It should be decent enough. Magnussen, again, just going to be trying to push as much as possible. This is Austria, after all. The pit lane here is very, very long last time I checked. 22 seconds. Used to be 29, I think. So, 22, that is. So it's not super long, but long enough that we might get into a little bit of trouble. For now, though, let's just get into it. Magnussen is gonna, eat the penalty. It is what it is. We just have to live with it. Handle it best as we can.
We've all been waiting for. It's the Austrian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Let's get him down to, low risk immediately. Okay, he maneuvered the first corner. That's kind of what I was wanted to see, more so than anything else. Hulkenberg is also potentially launching an attack on Alonso here. At least get tried, which is nice to see. And we also did see there for a second that this time around there were no ghosts into that third corner. So that is good. For now, though, for Hulkenberg, basically the key here now is just to be, make up a space or two, trying it up to top 5. For Magnussen, it is make up as much as you can before you pit. That is honestly all that we can hope for. And I think that is fine. So for the time being, we'll just sit back, relax, and allow things to kind of develop in hopefully our favor. It probably will not, but I can always hope. And we'll try and work Magnussen for the most part. Hulkenberg is kind of good where he is, although he too can probably go with a little bit of harvesting since he's the third guy in the train. For Magnussen, he's also, far back in the train, so we can harvest a little bit of him too. We're going to need energy, I think, to get most overtakes done here. Although he just did get one on Norris. So we're going to harvest, we're going to launch attacks, and we're going to see where we're at once we get to that first pit stop. We have a virtual safety car. We've also fallen back a little bit here, as you can see, because we recharged, which is unfortunate. But we have a show in the wall. And I assume that should be him out because the virtual safety car. And we're not going to be doing anything with this VSC, honestly. We're just going to get ready to attack as soon as it's over with. I do want to get Hulkenberg back up there. His confidence is going down. Apparently, Sargent has crashed under the virtual safety car.
Now this is Logan Sargent. And ends up.
That could be very much be him out too, I think. So that could be a longer virtual safety car as a result. But yeah, Sargent 2 is out now. That does kind of limit the possibilities for safety car later on. Sargent is a huge creator of those. We also have the Reese, Tsunoda to some degree. But that should be perfectly fine with us, honestly. For now, though, let's see if we can get a decent restart going. That also makes Magnus' life a little bit easier because he's going to have less cars to overtake once he actually does pit. But for the most part here, as you can see, Sainz is running basically the same strategy. Hamilton, Piastri, just pushing it as hard as we can. So let us see now if Hulkenberg can get himself back up into position, if Magnussen can get himself back up into position. And honestly, the more overtakes we get done now before that first pit stop so we can build the confidence, the better, I dare say. So Hulkenberg gets one move made here, but I would assume that Hamilton's going to come back at him. And he does, and not only that, but I think Hamilton has DRS here. No, he doesn't, so at least that is a positive for us. But this is going to, you know, be a little bit problematic here. We can see Magnus has almost caught up with Hulkenberg again. So we have a little bit of a job cut out for us here. Now for Hulkenberg now, I'm going to allow him to keep DRS energy on. Unfortunately, he can't actually get by Hamilton, so we're going to tune it down for both. And I might be using a little bit too much energy here for no good reason, honestly. But it is what it is. For now, we'll just settle in where we are, and we'll try and make it up during the pit stops. I think we don't really have much of a choice in that matter. Although Hulkenberg now is launching that attack. We need to close down to the Astons. That's the thing. But it's going to be difficult for sure. For Magnussen here, it's just push these tires a little bit further, probably down to 40% before we pit. That should do the job. And we'll go back down to about 1 kilogram in deficit of fuel. So let's see once we're down at Magnussen's pit stop. So I'm thinking we're going to go ahead and pit Magnussen now. He has hit that level that we wanted. He has also stretched the tires, which gives us some leeway later on. And I think the gaps there should be decent enough where we won't have any problems getting overtakes done. Piastri could be a little bit of an issue. Bottas could be a little bit of an issue. But we'll see where exactly we end up coming out here. I think we're going to maybe sneak out ahead of De Vries and Bottas. And we kind of do that. But this is gonna put us in a position where we're going to get held up again. So it is unfortunate that we do that, to be fair. But Magnussen now is already kind of looking to be on the aggressive side. And at least that is a positive. Now we're also getting very, very close to Hulkenberg's pit stop. It won't be long now. Probably a lap or two, extending a little bit. But we could just pit him right now. And I don't think that's a terrible idea. Because that would allow us to potentially jump some cars during the stops here. So we're going to get him in. Probably a little bit too soon. Could probably extend a little bit. And would probably help us. But I think getting him in right now is not going to make much of a difference. And that is why we're going to go ahead and do that. Now, Magnussen is making gains, but since everyone is kind of pitting around the same time now, it's not going to matter much. But the confidence going up is going to help us in the long term, which is why I prefer to pit early. And the overtakes aren't slowing us down too much. We are getting slowed down, don't get me wrong, but not too much. And hopefully, we can get some of these medium runners that are staying out by going a little bit longer. That's going to be the plan here. Hulkenberg actually comes out in a pretty decent window here. Sainz getting held up by both Albon and Norris, so he could potentially get a little bit of help from that train. But I would like to see him too get, some overtaking done to boost his confidence a little bit more. Magnussen should be reaching peak. He has, so he'll be fairly quick here on out. And from this point forward, we're just going to basically see how we do versus the other cars having pit stops. I'm pretty sure Hamilton had an error there. He was stationary for really, really long. He did. But that does allow us a little bit easier in terms of getting ahead of him. So we'll take that. Now, Albon should be no contest. Magnussen here now getting haunted by Ocon. So that's going to potentially slow us down that we need to fight him. But for now, we're just going to speed along, work our way until that next pit stop, and then see where we're at once we get there. So currently we have all pit stops done. Hulkenberg in 6th, Magnussen in 8th. Hulkenberg has one more stop, Magnussen has 2 with our very, very aggressive strategy. And just as I, say that, we have a little bit of an incident here, which hopefully does not involve us. And for once it doesn't. It's Hamilton and Alpine, and that could be bad for both cars. Could imagine that is some suspension damage, but yeah. We have a little bit of a problem here. We have Ocon being a little bit of nuisance. We have Stroll being a little bit of nuisance too. He's on a soft tire though, so he's going to be pitting again. But I am a little bit concerned on Magnussen, if he's going to be able to keep things going by doing a double pit stop here. It's going to be rough for sure, and particularly now with Gasly, Hamilton, Russell kind of being a trio back there. They are going to be, pain to overtake. But at the same time, the gap isn't anything super huge at the moment, so I'm going to gamble on that being alright once we actually get there. For the time being though, Hulkenberg is doing great. Just need to push those tires to the edge. And I think everyone is actually going to end up pitting again here, for the most part. I'm wondering if these guys go into another medium, or if they go to a hard. That's going to be the question. But for the time being, it's looking really, really good. And we are going to be pitting Magnussen now, at the end of this lap, onto another set of medium tires. And as you can see, he's estimated to come out in 12th behind Russell, Hamilton, Gasly, but ahead of Albon. So we'll have to see exactly what the gap ends up being. If it's 10 seconds, that would probably benefit us the most. So that'll give us some time to, well, see those cars split up from each other. If it ends up being anything less, we might be in a little bit of a pickle here. But looks like we have a decent gap here to work with, and that's gonna be the key here. Now for Hulkenberg, we still need to stretch him for a few more laps, and honestly, as long as we can run an attack, I'm very much tempted to let him run down to 30%. So for the time being, we'll just keep things as they are, and we'll see how, how things evolve here. So a lot of Hulkenberg's, nearest competitors, I guess you could say, have just pitted. So we're going to go ahead and pit Hulkenberg here. But we're going to keep the tires on attack for probably this first lap, because that should allow us to keep them in, temperature window. Hulkenberg having an incredibly slow pit stop. 13 seconds. That is horrible.
So Hulkenberg pulled in. Oh, hang on. The front right doesn't want to come off.
Well, at least we got it off. It wasn't a Bottas moment. But that definitely puts a incredible, that's an incredible problem for the Hulk, let's be honest. It also very, very unfortunate. But as you can see, we could potentially run aggressive now. So what I'm thinking that we do is we run the tire aggressive until we get to temperature. Then we run it standard. And then we, for 2-3 laps, that should be enough. Then we can run aggressive till the end. But yeah, definitely not what you like to see there with the Hulk, unfortunately. And we are slow to heat up these tires, but it is what it is. That is incredibly unfortunate. He'd probably be running next to Magnussen, if not for that. Well, not really. He'd be running behind Stroll, but that issue was not what we needed here. And it just confirms that Haas is a cursed team for me right now. We had issues last time around too with the pit stops. But Magnussen is actually making some, hefty pace here. He could still make something happen with this very, very aggressive strategy. For now, though, we'll try and manage Hulkenberg. And as I said, some of our close competitors had pitted. Stroll, Perez, now Alonso. And it's going to make us finishing anything higher than, say, 7th and 8th very, very difficult. So I think that's going to have to be the end goal here, trying to go for 7th and 8th. Maybe the Astons if we have an opportunity in the future. For now, though, what we could do, it would be sacrificing Magnussen, but we could try and hold up the Astons. But right now, the Astons should be quicker than Magnussen anyways. So since they have caught up to him, as long as he kind of slows him down with DRS training, that could still work. But for the time being, I'm not going to do anything massively interrupted with that. We'll just allow the race to kind of run its course. And we are going to have to recharge Hulkenberg's tire a little bit, but we are going to run him aggressive till the end for the most part. And Magnussen could also end up getting a tow from Alonso right now, which would probably benefit him more than trying to hold him up. So let's see how this looks once Magnussen gets his final pit stop underway. So Magnussen just lost connection to the Astons. And I think he also crashed.
Yeah, my bad.
Made it down to suspension, minor rear wing damage. What exactly did you do?
Now this was at turn 1.
Okay, maybe it's not his fault, maybe it's the Aston's fault. Nah, it's probably his fault. And of course, not only does he majorly damage his suspension, he also hits the Aston. Just for good measure. Hits the Aston, gets sent flying. And I'm pretty sure the Aston hasn't, suffered any major damage here. So Magnussen is just cursed. This is also going to be very expensive into next race suspension. And, well, the suspension is the main concern. The rear wing isn't as much of an issue. So we'll try and let him run a lap or two here. We'll see how his times look compared to everyone else. And if they're horrible, we'll just pit him. But right now he is running in the points. And we kind of need every point that we can get. So it's a rough one, honestly. That's the best way I can describe the current situation. A rough one. So let us see if Magnussen can make something up. How did we do in terms of our powertrain components? I think we're fine. Maybe did a little bit of damage to the gearbox, which honestly is, you know, pennies compared to any other sort of damage you could have done. So that is fine. But now that we'll turn up Hulkenberg, could probably turn him up to full attack at this point. But we'll run aggressive for about 5 laps. We will try and hunt down Stroll. And Magnussen here, I'm just curious what his lap times are like. They're not horrible, but he should be able to hold off 10th. So we'll keep this going. Stroll actually pits. That gives us a bit of a better chance. Bit of a better point finish, potentially, too. Paris on old hards 10 laps ago. Russell on old hards. I'm curious here. Can Magnussen 10 laps ago catch Russell? Maybe. So for now, let's just see where we're at once we get a little bit closer to the end. We basically tried everything we could here, catch Ocon and Russell. Now, if Magnussen didn't have damage, I'm pretty sure he would do that no problem. Catch at least up to 8th here. So it sucks. That's, again, the best way I can describe it. Magnussen just... it's making me so frustrated right now because, again, it's not an error you need to make. And the confidence he had while doing so was also close to peak. So he had the lowest error chance, but even then, he still managed to pull a problem out of the hat. And not only does he pull a problem out of the hat, he managed to damage his rear wing in the process, which makes it very, if not impossible, to, you know, hunt these guys down. You can even see how close we are. So I can guarantee you that if he had no damage, Ocon, Russell, he'd probably gotten both of them. And that is a few more points, which would have been vital to us. But at least a good performance here from Hulkenberg, up to 6th. But yeah, Magnussen, he pulled everything that he could out of the rabbit hat to make this a bad a race weekend as we could. And it's just very, very unfortunate, is all. So, Verstappen first, then we actually have the 2 Ferraris, Perez, Alonso, Hulkenberg, Stroll, Russell, Ocon. And I think that makes it a little bit interesting now in the BDC. So we still have a chance at 4th. I think our hope here getting 3rd is probably going to get dashed just because of the errors that we are going to be making. And particularly at this 10-second, 10.5 second basically loosened tires error, that also did cause us a lot of problems. But honestly, we were more than that behind the car in front. So let's be honest, it didn't really make any huge impact on the races. I don't think it would have an impact on our points, which is kind of weird to say, but it is the truth. And we have a failed chassis, we have a failed suspension, we have a we're not gonna have a good British GP, and we're just gonna be putting our faith here into Hulkenberg. I think we are making a chassis, but it's gonna take 11 days to get that done. We're getting front wing and rear wing tomorrow. But that does cause a bit of a problem here. So what we're going to do, because Magnussen has decided to, well, be a Destruction Derby specialist, is that we're going to be nerfing him in that next race. And that does suck, don't get me wrong. But it is what we're going to have to do. And I don't think we even have a suspension for him as well. So yeah, we're definitely having problems here with the fact that he's crashing. That is the thing. So we're going to put our faith here in Hulkenberg, who is potentially the slower driver of the two, but he is far more reliable. And with that, we're going to be put into a very rough position here where we're going to have to run a very hampered car 1. This one might not even make it out of Q3 with how nerfed it's going to be. So we're going to have to put all our faith in one car next week. It is just what it is. But hopefully we'll not have too many crashes. Adaptability and accuracy points. I hate adaptability, honestly. I feel like it's mostly just a useless stat. And it's just there to pad overalls for drivers that would otherwise... You know, these guys are 80 overall, but they have 90 plus points in adaptability. In reality, they're less than 80, if you're looking at it from a race pace perspective. And that is just very, very unfortunate. but we'll have to just deal with that. Now the suspension research is complete, and as you can see, we actually did put CFD time into the suspension, which was kind of what I thought we did. I just couldn't completely remember. And with that, we should, let's see here, where is that? Suspension research. We should be, for the most part, kind of caught up. We got basically 0.3 here, 0.2, 0.06, so we might need to put in a little bit more effort towards the high speed. No, we're actually caught up. Yeah, one safety period actually put us back into a positive here with the suspension. Okay, so the low speed is the main focus here. I forgot about that. I thought it was the other way around, the high speed, but it's 30% low speed, which puts us in a really nice spot then, because that means we have caught up on the suspension. One more project will bring us into positive territory, so we'll go ahead and do that. Brake cooling, low speed, and also we'll put in a little bit of drag reduction research. That should be fine. And once we've done this suspension research, we'll put this slot forwards to doing side pods and chassis. And once we actually get the underfloor done in 15 days, we're going to put safety time into that. And we'll just kind of do them in order here. I think that is the best way to get things done. Now, we could also kind of rush a suspension, potentially, but I don't think that's going to be anything good. And as you can see, we were actually in wary territory, so 40% chance of an error. We're going to be the same here in Great Britain, so pit stop error-wise, I am a little bit chuffed, if you will. It seems like the punishment for running more than one pit stop, having basically, I guess, low car building, could be bad too. I don't know. If it is actually based on car building during weekends, that your car building has an effect, that would be problematic. Let's put it like that. So all that we can do this race weekend is just do a little, or this month even, is just do a little bit of pit stop drills. That's honestly all that we have time for, but we might just start doing a little bit of car building too, because if it does actually have an effect on your fatigue, which hopefully it won't, then that would be kind of interesting. We should probably also try looking for a better pit crew man, but at the moment we'll just have to live with things as they are. I think that's just gonna make it a little bit harder, but it should also make it a little bit more interesting to try and deal with that with those errors that we have. So let us go ahead and get the suspension made. It's going to take 11 days. We'll get one before Budapest. That's kind of what we're hoping for. So let's just get 2 on the Coco right away. And side pods, underfloor is caught up, rear wing, front wing. We have 1 extra. So let's go ahead and just make another side pod so we can get that kind of stocked up. But yeah, we're going to have a bit of a throwaway weekend here for Magnussen. It is what it is when you don't have, car parts. And financially, we could probably go ahead and emergency manufacture, but I like to play it safe. So we don't need Magnussen to do a huge performance here in Great Britain if we're fighting for 4th. We need to if we're going for 3rd. But his huge performance in Canada did unfortunately put us into, well, did unfortunately propel Aston Martin quite a lot ahead of us. So it is what it is. We'll just have to deal with this. We'll try and beat Mercedes this race weekend with Hulkenberg only. It's going to be difficult, but I don't see any other way around it in terms of getting some performance out of this race weekend. Sponsors VIP experience. Sure, we'll approve. But again, yeah, Hulkenberg is going to be the key to getting anything paid out, so we'll have to adjust our expectations to kind of mirror that. We'll put in another front wing research here, and we'll do it, I think, like this. Get some brake cooling on there, get some airflow sensitivity. There's kind of a lot of things that I want to research, but we do need to also maximize what we're focusing on. So for now, let's just do it like this. Get a little bit of low speed, medium speed. It's very minor, don't get me wrong, but it is going to help in the long run. We could, of course, also boost our brake cooling, sacrifice a little bit, get an extra 0.5 percentage point. Airflow friend is probably a better bet, though, so let's do it like that. And with that, let's head to Britain here, see if we can pull something out of the hat, finish position, one car, top 10. And we're going to gamble on getting Magnussen in Q2, but no way we're getting him into Q3. That just ain't happening. Let's go to British GP and see how we do during quali. So, interestingly enough here, Magnus and Haas, against all odds, actually pulled it off and, well, made his way to Q3. So, we'll live with that. That's not bad. But definitely not what we expected here, that Magnussen would pull the rabbit out of the hat in quite such a manner. And we also have something else of interest to share, and that is Hulkenberg, because he has, for some reason, managed to pull this off. As you can see, we had 2 times for quali. He has 2 mediums and 2 hards for today's event, so that makes things a little bit interesting. I think the reason is because we were using this gearbox, and it never quite hit 0%. So this gearbox is currently a forever box. And, well, I don't know if it will work on the next one too. But the way that it actually works for this this practice is that I would still sim it, but it would never reach this, you know, full 0%. It was 2% before this weekend. And as a result, he just ended up not really doing any runs. And they just sent back, after that first session, where they sent back a medium and a soft, I believe, they did 1 run. And then he just kind of collapsed, and they ended up sending back 4 crash softs. So he had 2 practices where he didn't actually do any runs. And that kind of translates into his confidence 1. But it also kind of does mean that we have a little bit of an issue here with the fact that we have tires that probably you aren't meant to have. And that allows us to do a little bit funny with the strategy. Let's put it like that. And you can probably hear my nose being extremely stuffy. It's a result of work today. Don't worry too much about it. And because of that too, I just took a nap about 20 minutes ago. Well, I woke up 20 minutes ago. The nap was supposed to be done like 4 hours ago. But it is the bad habit of mine where I don't feel too well. I go to nap. The nap turns into basically half asleep, if I will. And that's not a good thing. Let's put it like that. Okay, so both of these strategies are about the same. This one is a second quicker. So we'll be doing this for Hulkenberg for sure. It's just no way to get around it. This is the quickest. We'll be doing one of these, probably the hard one, just to be on the safe side. But Magnussen, we're going to be a little bit more pressured. And what we are probably going to do here, medium to hard, and then do a soft, kind of soft extension, or just run the soft on standard. And that's kind of what we're going to have to do. And as you can see, that is about 5 seconds slower than the strategy that we had for Hulkenberg. Now, I'm pretty sure these strategies don't take your car into account. We could probably test it here with Hulkenberg, but the problem is Hulkenberg doesn't actually have any decent soft tires to test it with. And we don't have the same amount of tires for Magnussen, so kind of difficult to test. But for Magnussen, the goal here will just be to stay within the points. Again, I'm amazed that he made it into Q3. I did not expect that to happen. And for the Hulk here, it's going to be to straight up try and maybe snatch the podium here. I think he will have decent chances, but at the same time, we need to get that confidence up if we are to do it. You can see that he has a little bit, not really that much lower confidence because his bar isn't the same as Magnussen. He doesn't have as high affinity with his engineer. But with you know, with no regards to that, let's just jump into the race here and see what we can do.
Hold on tight. It's the British Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
I'd say that's a decent start. Yellow flag already. I don't think we're involved. Let's see what happened. Perez. They took penalties. This race has been involved. Oh, sent the Williams to the Shadow Realm. Didn't look like any of them suffered any major damages, except for maybe tire. So yeah, Perez lost a little bit of his tire. And I can't see what happened to William because of Slade here. Another yellow flag though. We have a virtual safety car. So Bottas has crashed.
Possible gravel.
Has he crashed on his own?
So we're heading now into turn 5. And that's the moment the car plows into
That's
the wall.
a...
Thankfully, though, they come...
That's a weird direction. That kind of reminds me of Magnussen's car, where the rear suspension just kind of gave up on life.
VSC.
Yeah, that was definitely a little bit weird. Honestly, not too bad for us though. We can just chill behind this VSC. Magnussen is still in 9th. We have Albon ahead, Hulkenberg up into 4th. So yeah, this is not a bad start. Well, this is, I don't even remember if he started 4th or 5th. That's how
Virtual safety car ending.
cloudy my head is at the moment. So yeah, that's why we'll just do this one race. But that is a decent restart for us. But the problem now is we have a hard runner in Sainz ahead of us, and for these mediums, we'd definitely like to get ahead of him and maybe start chasing down Verstappen and Leclerc. Magnussen already doing an aggressive move on Albon. Exactly what we like to see here. Now the problem though is the two Mercedeses that are kind of inside of each other. But I think this is a really good start to this GP for us, honestly. And Hulk should have no problem with, once we get DRS here, to just fly by. And he has. Magnussen ran a little bit wide. That is kind of what we're getting used to. It is unfortunate.
Turn 5.
But at least this time he didn't lose every single position. And he didn't do the same thing Bottas did. So I think we'll just have to be happy with that. And yeah, for Hulkenberg here, the problem is going to be to get by this Ferrari within a reasonable time frame, if you will. Might need to recharge a little bit of energy before we do that, but the quicker we get by, the better. As you see right now, we are falling back, so I think the Ferrari is still pushing. So that puts us in an even worse predicament. But either we'll see if we can get Magnus up to 8th again, and we'll see if we can get Hulkenberg up into podium place. So we've already had some pit stops, and Hulk just isn't getting things done here. Stroll has pulled his way up to 2nd, so Softar is definitely doing something here, for sure. And right now we are falling further back here. So I think for Hulkenberg's sake, we are going to be pitting him at the end of this lap. It's a little bit early compared to what we were planning. But degradation seems to be kind of what we expect on the mediums, which means that potentially on the hards here, we'll be seeing less degradation than anticipated. And that might really be the key here. So we are going to get Hulkenberg in. I think we can also probably get Magnussen in, because of that estimation that we are going to see less degradation. And if not, we'll just have to run the softs even more passively, if you will. And I think the earlier we get in here, the better. There's going to be quite a bunch of cars pitting within just a few laps here. Looks like Hulkenberg is doing one more lap before he wants to pit himself. Magnussen here comes out in 12th, so it's not too shabby, because ahead of us we have 1, 2, 3, 4 cars that need pitting, that we are kind of in reach of. Stroll has fitted onto new soft tires, so he's definitely doing a very aggressive strategy. And yeah, looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Hulkenberg here, going to come out just behind Gasly. So hopefully now we can also have Hulkenberg kind of build up that confidence a little bit, because it has taken a little bit of a dive. And again, for drivers that don't have the best pace stats compared to the grid around them, getting the confidence up by doing a early pit stop can be a game changer. Just to keep that in mind, because by getting confidence up, we get we get stat boosts that can be really powerful in the long run. And of course, the better driver stats, the quicker your pace, and if you could run peak confidence for the entire race, that would be huge. So I'm not saying use soft tires to make sure that you can do that, but pitting a little bit before everyone else so you can have at least a couple of overtakes while the others are on worse tires can definitely be beneficial from a long-term pace perspective. You might lose a little bit on the first few outlaps as a result, but you should be getting more than done enough of it back through just an increase in pace for the rest of the race. So ahead of us here, I'm pretty sure we had Stroll doing something on his own for at the very least, but he might have actually touched Alonso. No, Stroll actually just spun on his own, and that means he's going to have to pit really, really soon. And that also helped Hulkenberg. Confidence is starting to reach the peak, so he's looking to be in a very good position. And as I said, Verstappen, Alonso, both of these cars are going to need to pit. Actually, everyone ahead of us are going to have to pit at one point. They're probably going to be doing their final pit stop, to be fair. But we have one more in the back. Well, they're probably going to have to pit twice as well. So they're going to need this one and one more potentially. Unless they go for a really, really long hard stint, which is going to be a little bit weird, I think. But definitely it looks like we have a very, very good opportunity here. And degradation is, as I expected on these hards, less than anticipated. So that too is very, very nice. Magnus' confidence is, well, going a little bit down. But it will be going up as well. He has better tires to do overtakes with. And that is definitely going to help him. Russell is on fresher medium, so he's going to be a little bit of a hard enough to crack. But for now, I think I'm happy with where we are. So we're just going to speed things along. So everyone in the front has now pitted, and Hulkenberg is in net first. But we have Verstappen and Leclerc on hards. They're going to be going till the end. I don't know if Sainz can actually stretch these mediums to 26 or so laps. That's going to be a little bit challenging. But we'll see if he can. He's going to be very slow towards the end if he does. And Russell is going to be pitting again alongside us and Perez. Alonso is kind of done with pitting. But in terms of gaps here, Hulk has a really, really favorable gap at the moment if he can extend it. So for now, we'll just sit and do, well, kind of sit and do what we have been doing, which is kind of pushing. We might push a little bit more fuel here because we'll probably end up with 0.3, 0.4 in the positives by end of this race. So what I'm thinking is push it for both drivers probably down to 0.6. It's a little bit conservative in terms of what I think we can go for. But I think it's going to benefit us. And we actually have Magnussen now kind of fighting a Perez on fresher softs, but softs that are ailing. So that should also help with building his confidence back up to the peak. And it's also going to slow Perez down quite a bit. So that is good for a podium perspective. Let's put it like that. So Magnussen is struggling a little. Magnussen is struggling a little bit. But I'm pretty sure he can come back at him here. And he does. So yeah, we could also use the order to slow him down. But honestly, at this point, I feel like Magnussen kind of needs to do his own race as well. If we can get him, you know, a top 6, top 8 position, that would be nice. It would be a couple of extra points. And I think that too is going to have to be part of the plan here. But right now, we are keeping up with Perez on old versus soft tires. Old hard versus old softs. Mainly because the old hards will give us a little bit of a tire advantage here, I think, because we're running full attack. But Perez is leaving us behind, so I might actually be wrong on that. Let's have a look. I've already checked this before the race. So, degradation-wise from medium to hard, it's 15 laps. And from softs to hards, as you can see, it's 8 tenths. With 6 tenths difference, so basically 13, 14 laps. So the hard seat is not really a bad choice, which could really, really make things easier for Hulkenberg. Magnussen ran a bit wide, and as you can see here, I think we're just going to stick on these hards until they're kind of used up, at least down to 40%. For Magnussen, we might run them a little bit longer so we can get the soft running at the end there. But yeah, being basically 17 laps on softs is not ideal, but since we're running them standard, Magnussen will be holding a bit of a pace advantage over everyone. But Hulkenberg will probably still be a lot quicker, because again, he'll be running on a set of hard tires. Now, Perez and Russell are both going to need to pit soon. We are going to come out behind Leclerc, Verstappen, and Sainz. There's no way around it. So what I'm thinking here now is we give probably one more lap here for Hulkenberg after he finishes this one. So we'll do this. And that should be good enough. Although, we kind of want to try beat Alonso out, beat Magnussen out. But I think it's going to be a little bit difficult. And for Magnussen here too, I think we'll just pit him to next lap to make life a little bit easier for our boy. Although that's going to be a little bit risky. We're going to have to stretch him for probably 2 more laps just to be safe on those softs, degradation-wise. Is the thing. Nah, we'll pit him. We'll take the risk. I think it's worth it to take the risk here. So Hulkenberg now goes in for the pit stop. As long as he comes out ahead of Alonso, we'll be happy. And it looks like that shouldn't be too much of a problem. Gets out ahead. Now he has fresh air in 4th. We actually have Perez and Russell pit alongside us. So that makes it a little bit unfortunate for Magnussen. Magnussen also had a bit of a slower stop. But chasing points here shouldn't actually be an issue. Gasly needs to pit. Hamilton, Stroll. Well, Hamilton needs to pit, but Stroll I think is just going to stay out. And we actually have now also a little bit of a duel with Hulkenberg and Alonso, which can unfortunately hold us up pretty badly if we don't get by quick enough. And that might actually compromise a potential fight here for the podium. So hopefully we can leave him behind at one point, but currently it's not looking extremely likely. He still has some time to go on here. So worst case scenario, we might need to just recharge and then push. Unless we can leave him behind now when we have Show kind of being in the way here into the corner. And he did open the gap up for us. But I don't think the energy that we have is enough to get a second ahead and stay a second ahead, particularly with the DRS detection point being back here for this straight. So we'll see this time, maybe, hopefully. Norris with a little bit of a wide moment there. And he holds up Alonso, so yeah. Norris there playing for our team currently. But yeah, that is Hulkenberg now away from Alonso, and he can now focus on starting to hunt down Leclerc. So gained a second last lap, gained a little bit more this lap. And hunting down Leclerc is definitely possible here. We'll have to see if he might also be able to hunt down Verstappen. For Magnussen, he is going to have a bit of a rougher time. It's just how things are. He's currently running slower than Russell, running faster than Stroll, but he is about 14 seconds behind. So we'll have to see what he can do. Stroll is also on very, very old hards here. They're going to be basically destroyed by the time we get to the end. Perez, though, I think for soft tires, it's going to be a little bit of a problem. And kind of the same here with Russell. So basically, if Stroll can hold them up, that would be amazing. But I'm not putting too much faith in that, honestly. Oh, this might be great for us.
And oh, that's obviously far from intentional.
Just a line touch. The best I guess we can hope for now is one of them eating a penalty. We shall see. But for Magnussen, we can't really do anything. We're just going to have him run his own little race there. Maybe push a little bit towards the end. Yeah, no penalties. But Hulkenberg now is getting very, very close to Leclerc and then Verstappen. So I'm thinking we run a little bit of... Once we actually catch Verstappen here, we're going to run a little bit of harvest because Leclerc actually opted to pit. Did they wreck their tires immensely here? Yeah, Verstappen is going to be really, really bad on his tires here towards the end. And Leclerc actually came out ahead of Magnussen now, so Hulkenberg might just be getting into coast-breaking territory here. And we might even get Verstappen. Sainz is probably a little bit too far up the track for us to get him. And Magnussen is just kind of, again, has to do his own little thing here, which is unfortunate. But Hulkenberg has caught up to Verstappen, and I think at this point we just stay behind and harvest a little bit, run the tires on aggressive. Provided, of course, we can actually stay with him on aggressive. If not, we're going to go up to attack again. Because, excuse me, because with the Red Bull, we are going to need to be quite aggressive to actually get away from him. So we are falling backwards a little bit now because of the recharging, but that is okay. There we go. Let's see if we can get back within DRS. I don't think we'll have too many problems with that. Because as I said, Verstappen is kind of nursing his tires right now. He's not really lost a lot of tires since last time we checked. And I think that's actually why we're gaining on him, because Verstappen is nursing his tires, which means that we need to get by on this or the next lap at the latest, in order to have any sort of chance here at getting second place, I would think. And Tsunoda there opted to be kind of a very clutch block for the Verstappen. Let us deploy, push fuel, see if we can get by, because now we're really close. Hulk pulls it off. We're still going to deploy a little bit longer. I want to see if we can get ahead enough before that DRS zone. Didn't look like it, but I do want to see the overtake.
Hulkenberg there. They decide to give it a go.
Did indeed decide to give it a go. But I think if we keep on deploying, then we might be in a little bit of trouble. But if we can get out of DRS for Verstappen, that would be great too. So keep it on neutral for now. And I think we actually got away. That's amazing. Now for Sainz, we gained 2.6 seconds that last lap. But let's face it, we pushed everything we could. But his tires are getting to the borders of death here. So if they dip below 30%, we might still have a bit of a chance, but it's going to be incredibly close. Gained 1.3 seconds last lap. I think he is still going to be safe, unfortunately. If we had been more aggressive with our pushes early on, we might have been able to catch him. But he's about to start final lap. His tires are still above 30%. And that makes this a little bit more difficult. For Magnussen, gaps are a little bit too big, so nothing much we can do. But we'll watch Hulkenberg's hopefully podium victory lap, if you will. And it is just a bit of a shame that we didn't have enough to catch Sainz, because the AI definitely has been pushing their tires for this race. The highest one in the top 10 is Gasly with 45, then Russell with 41, and then the rest between 30 and 40% basically. But Sainz has fallen off here a little bit. Hulkenberg, unfortunate. If he had a couple more laps here, that would have been all he needed to kind of get that done. But we broke the Hulkenberg curse, so we'll at least take that with us.
Okay,
And
checkered flag.
it's very unfortunate here, because Hulkenberg's kind of proven here what a car is capable around this place. But unfortunately, Magnussen just doesn't have the same capabilities. He's lacking the chassis, he's lacking the suspension, and that's definitely has hampered him here. For sure.
Hulkenberg's put it all together for the perfect drive today.
This podium is something the whole team can be proud of. Excellent strategy and perfectly executed.
We may see these kind of scenes a lot in Formula One, but it's easy to forget just what it means to the whole team.
Yeah, we broke Nico's curse. He now has a podium. However, we'll be trying to, of course, get him a win. This is just the first step. But we did actually end up ahead of both Red Bulls. Perez made a pretty decent recovery drive up to 4th. And Sainz was really, really lucky with his tires there towards the end. And I am kind of upset with Magnussen, in fact, because we didn't have the parts mainly. Because it could have had a pretty, insane race. And you can kind of see just how bad our car is compared to the rest of the top 10 by the fact that all of them had better, fastest laps than us. So that is what it is. Hulkenberg now moves up ahead of Russell. And in the Constructors, we actually move up ahead of Mercedes. Still a little bit of work here to get Aston, but if we can, again, string together some good performances, it's definitely possible. Shame also for Magnussen that he had that pit stop error, but luckily for us, no errors for Hulkenberg. And you could say that, oh, if I focused on my pit crew speed, then we could have, of course, gotten Hulkenberg the win here. It's unlikely because of the fact that we have had a lot of errors, and our error chance is quite high still, even though we've kind of been working on that. So it's a difficult thing to say, honestly. It's really, really hard to judge, but you could, of course, be right. But for now, we are going to end it here. As I said, recorded this race after having a bit of a nap, which wasn't supposed to be a nap. It was just supposed to be a power nap after a long day at work. But it is what it is, and here we are. So hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, as it helps me out a ton. And hopefully, I'll see you around next time. Bye bye. Have a good weekend, everyone.